All right, just got home. Want to try to get this video out really quick. Um, I realized today that the date numerology is 10, 30, whatever, 15, which adds up to 55. Um, in game one, when the power went out, um, or the second time I talked about how this guy, number 55, was batting. It was the 55th pitch in the fifth inning, and the power went out for the second time. Interesting, too, he's 33, even bored on 222. But gonna move on. I just want to talk about the 55 a little bit. So 55, from the help of my comments here, uh, the original, when the power went out, it was when they were advertising for The Grinder with Rob Lowe and Fred Savage. And they even joked and said it was the curse of Rob Lowe and Fred Savage. The word Savage adds up to 55. Lowe adds up to 55. And then even in game two, the Royals they started just kicking butt or whatever in the fifth inning. But interesting, in the fifth inning, they had 5 hits. So they had 5 hits in the fifth inning, and that was pretty much the deciding factor of the game. Also interesting to point out, it was they scored 4 runs in the fifth inning, so the 5 and the 4. And then in game one, the score was even 5-4. So I'm just interested into seeing what happens tonight. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of, or something significant with this number again. Seems like they've really been coding it. You know, it's the Back to the Future year, the year that Marty goes back to 1955 on November 5th. I also noticed something today at work when I was just thinking about it. Seems like there was a lot of stuff that ties into the number 33 lately as well. But 55, and if you add 33 years to that, it takes you to 1988, literally. So the speed of the DeLorean or the time travel machine. If you add 33 to 88, you get 121, like the 121 gigawatts. And the reason that I mentioned that is just because I said it all ties back into Queen Elizabeth, who I even found out the Mets play in Queens, New York. I didn't put that in the last video. I just read that in some of the comments, but she became queen in 1952. Can't even type here, but 1952. And if you add 33 years to that, it's 1985. So she was 33 years old in the year that Back to the Future begins and ends. Or not 33 years old, but she was queen for 33 years at that time. I also talked about how I think this might be the last day of the World Series, Game 6 or whatever. But Queen Elizabeth became the longest reigning British monarch ever on 9/9, which is 55 days before this day. Also, wanted to point out a few things here. So, I know that I just watched one of Zachary Hubbard's videos. He talked about, or he showed that the Mets lost Game 1 in the 1986 World Series by 1, and they lost the Game 2 by 6. And that is the same thing that happened this year. But the thing that just makes me wonder about it is because I've been noticing how they've been mirroring a lot of things. Mirror adds up to 91, just like Chicago Cubs. The Cubs got swept instead of sweeping. Just want to point it out really quick here. Chicago Cubs. Just been noticing a lot of the mirrors in the number 91. I even talked about it, about how I think it's an elimination number. So if they're mirroring it, literally, the Mets just won't come back and win at all. So, I don't know. Also, this Bill Buckner thing that happened in Game 6, and then you had Hosmer, who missed the first base line drive or whatever to first base, but then Kansas City ended up coming back and winning in 14 innings. 14th inning adds up to 91. So it's kind of like the opposite. Like, instead of coming back and winning, the Mets lost. Hosmer missed the thing at first, and the Mets still lost. And also in the 1985 World Series with the Royals, the only one that they won, they lost Game 1 and lost Game 2, and then they won Game 3, and then they came back and won it in 7 games. And it was the same thing before they made the World Series this year. They were down 0-2 or 3-1 or whatever, and they came back and won to make it into the World Series, and they played Toronto, and the exact opposite happened this year. So it just makes me wonder if they're just doing some type of mirror thing. I also seen today that last night in the game when Cameron Wake supposedly got hurt, he tore his Achilles tendon now. He has a ruptured Achilles tendon. He's number 91. And so Chicago Cubs also adds up to 46 and 91. Cameron Wake is number 91. And look at his name in gematria here. 46, he is number 91. Also, in simple gematria, he's 109, which is sort of like a 19 or 91, depending. His real name is Derek Cameron Wake. That adds up to 71, a number I've talked about multiple times. The word Catholic is 71. Moses is 71. Even World War III, tons of stuff. The reason I just mentioned that is because I've talked about the Pope and whatnot and how the Pope's always involved, it seems like, this year. Also, Achilles tendon adds up to 60, which is the mirror number of 55. Flip Saunders just died at the age of 60. I've made a ton of stuff on that. Also, 141, a number I've seen with the Miami Dolphins over and over. When Richie Incognito's first game back in Miami was against Buffalo, they lost 41-14. Last week, they won, and they were winning 41-0 at halftime. And then Arian Foster also tore his Achilles tendon. What is the deal with all these people tearing their Achilles? I mean, I've never even really heard of that in sports until it happened to Kobe Bryant. Also, Cameron Wake went to Penn State, which interesting. I've talked about how that all ties in to the Nebraska stuff, and the Miami Dolphins were coded to Nebraska because of Incognito and Ndamukong Suh and whatnot, but interesting that he went to Penn State. It even says that he had 191 total tackles there. And, of course, also age 33. So, I don't know. Just wanted to point that out. Just my theory of the 91 seems like it's really starting to make even more sense. I keep seeing it with unsuccessful things. And also, really quick, 141, 4-1 April 1st is the 91st day of the year. So, 41 and 91 even make sense together. Also, in regards to Pope Francis, who came to the White House at 9/23 on 9/23, is the 266th Pope. This is the 266th day of the year. If you take 9/23 and you go to 11/3, which is also Gregorian to Julian, it's Back to the Future Day. But it's a span of 41 days, or also 1 month and 11 days. It's the 111th World Series. Queen Elizabeth is born on the 111th day of the year. Tons of other, New York adds up to 111. Tons of other connections, but I took Queen Elizabeth's birthday to this day as well. Or actually what I did was I took Queen Elizabeth's birthday to 11/1, which Game 5 of the World Series will be played on this day. And 11/1, kind of like 111th World Series. But it's a span of 194 days. I may have even talked about this before, but just going to throw it back in there. It all ties back into Back to the Future. Back to the Future 2 adds up to 194. Queen Elizabeth's birthday, 194 days away from 111 on the 111th World Series. November 1st is also, there's 60 days remaining until the end of the year. Like I said, 1955 was 60 years ago. 1960 was 55 years ago. So you see these numbers a lot coded together. Tons of other stuff with it. 60 has been a real popular number for the last couple months. Also makes me wonder, Game 3 here, since I said 91 or whatever is the elimination or whatever number, well, Chicago Cubs is also 46, so maybe these two numbers might go together at some point, like for elimination. And I know it's a Game 3, adds up to 46. I know there won't be an elimination, but it just makes me wonder if it could lead to the Royals actually sweeping the Mets. And just interesting, I mean, you can do this both ways. Mets could go in front, but it adds up to 62. Talked about how both of these teams are coded to Queen Elizabeth, and the Royals seem to be coded to Pope Francis as well. And Queen Elizabeth is surrounded by 62 and 26, lots of stuff with that. But I don't think that Kansas City is going to sweep the Mets. I think they're going to actually lose tonight. It would make sense with the mirror. Who knows? Just wanted to point out some other things I noticed, I guess. So, whatever. Just wanted to put this video out to maybe watch for the 55s. Like, I'm assuming it's going to be in this game because of the date numerology. There's even 55, and there's been 55 stuff coded in all of these games. So, I'm missing it right now, but Kansas City's even winning 1-0, but who knows? End it right here. Maybe make some more videos later tonight, but have a good one.